Hello, everybody. In today's workshop, we're going to be talking about tips for effective and efficient studying. So this workshop is going to be all about study skills and how to improve them and how to get better grades due to that. So good study habits, when you practice good study habits, you are going to make or break your GPA. So our main goal or our main focus here is for you to study well, to get better grades, to improve your GPA at the end of the semester. So if you follow these tips, I hope that it would help you better your GPA and make it higher so you're able to graduate with a higher GPA. Which allows you for better employment. So study habits that we're going to talk about is how to take good notes, how to stay organized, unplug and reconnect, how to not cram, how to don't overstudy because there is such a thing as overstudying, finding your zone, and then how to take a break. So when we are taking good notes, that means we are going to have better grades, because we are studying and we are using our notes efficiently. We are going to take simple notes. I see a lot of students during lecture that are taking or they're copying down every single word that the lecturer is talking about, the professor or the doctor. Really, that's not efficient. You need key points of the lecture. Don't write everything. Summarize the text, summarize what the person is talking about. Only make sure to include important points. And so I'm not saying don't take notes at all. I'm saying take notes of important points and make sure that you don't miss those important points. A tip that I would like to give you here is you can actually record the lecture, but be careful with that. You have to ask the professor or the doctor to give you permission to record their lectures so you can write your notes later. Pay attention as much as possible during lecture time, and then you're able to review that recording and write your notes at your own time and at your own pace and organize them as much as possible. Talking about organization, we are going to talk about how to color code your notes. Now, important highlighters, I want to include how important highlighters are to your notes. What I like to do is I like to use 4 different highlighters. Definitions go in blue, most important things go in yellow, so that's like standing out for you. Questions that are given out to the professor, I would just write a normal pen or pencil, and then I'd highlight their answers in green, because once a professor answers a question and it takes time to answer a question, that means that question is important and it will show up on a test or on a project or in a presentation. Keywords are the ones that don't have definitions, but you really need to pay attention to them. Such a thing in biology, for example, is osmosis. In chemistry, you might want to key points are going to be like an equation or how to simplify, what is an atom, what is whatever. Those are key words, but they don't really necessarily have a definition. Use of technology. So technology is a blessing that we have, and you really nowadays during the lecture, a lot of students are recording their lectures online, but since all the lectures are online, technology is a blessing. I am not saying technology is something that is not effective. However, you have to know how to use it. It's a personal preference. Some people like to type their notes, some people like to write their notes. However, I would want to make it very clear to you, and you have to make it clear to yourself. If you're not fast at typing, I would suggest you go another route, which is handwriting your notes. Don't be a person who is unhonest, not honest with themselves, and actually try to type the notes. You're going to miss a lot of things if you're not fast at typing. We also want to use it in the right way, so don't just type your notes and then delete the file later. You have to have a Google Drive or a flash drive, just so you can ensure that there's a safe place to save them and so you don't lose them later. What I like to do is at the beginning of every semester, I like to have a folder called Spring 2020. Inside of the Spring 2020 folder, I'll put the 5 classes or the 6 classes that I'm taking, including lab. So if you're taking a lab, just separate it from lecture. And then in every single one, I'm able to save the notes. So now this idea of layering your folders will allow you to just keep organized and stay organized, know where exactly every file is labeled. Now, in terms of labeling the lectures, I would like to label the lecture by lecture number, lecture date, and then at the end I would include the lecture title or what was discussed during that lecture. And organize them based on the date. There is a preference that you can choose on your Mac or on your computer to organize the files based on your date, so you know which lecture came first and which lecture came last. This way it allows you to study better or to go back on a test or a quiz and know exactly which lectures were included. So now that we're done with good note taking and good grades, we should move on to the next slide. Oops. Okay, which is organization. Organization is key. You need to, in order for you to study better, you need to be organized. I cannot stress this enough. Use a calendar. A human being cannot have all of these information, all of these dates, everything cramped in their brain. Use a calendar. Put whenever lecture time is, whenever review time is, answering question times are. And right now, especially because we are sitting at home and this is all online remote learning, we tend to forget what day it is, what time it is, and days are jumbled together. So I would rather you use a calendar. Even if it's as simple as your phone, you're still using a calendar that keeps you organized. I am old school and I like to use a paper calendar. I'm writing everything in it all the times, every single day, and even in the notes section, I like to fill it out. Write down any clubs, homework, social events. I don't use a separate calendar for school and social life. I like to put them all together. This way I'm able to focus on my main priority, which is school. Okay, now when I'm talking about organization, I'm not only talking about how to organize your time, I'm also talking about materials and your notes and where you're going to study from. Again, binders are very effective, sticky notes, folders, highlighters, and flashcards. If you are on your laptop or on your computer, I told you how to exactly save it. You go by semester, by subject, by lecture, or by chapter, depending on what you want to separate. Another way that I've seen it done is semester, courses. Inside the courses, a lot of people put notes, then they put homework assignment, then they put projects. So you're able to even break down the documents itself. Now, when we are talking about the next part, not sure why it keeps freezing. Okay, so the most important thing when you're studying is to unplug. Unplugging means set boundaries to yourself. Make sure that you are the owner of your own time and you are in charge. So that means if you are studying, get off of Facebook, get off of social media, even in class, try to separate yourself and unplug yourself from the phone. If you're using your computer, try to put it on do not disturb so you're not distracted by any text message or any phone call that comes in. Try to just really focus on the main purpose, which is study time. When you set that time to yourself and you know that you're studying from 4:30 to 5:30, try to engage, try to use as much of that time studying and not on the phone. When we say don't cram, I mean don't wait until there's a test coming up to study for everything. Make sure that you're on a weekly schedule. Even if it's the first week of the semester, try to start studying early. Set a time and a place and respect it. So every Tuesday at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I'm actually going to study for biology. Make sure, even if it's an hour, you're at least reviewing your material. I'm not saying you're going to sit down and actually study word for word, but try to go over your notes. The more you read them, the more it will stick in your brain. When you look at every time that you say you're going to study, don't just look at the notes of the previous week. Look at the notes from the beginning of the chapter. The more you look at older notes, the more it's going to help you memorize them. And then for the next slide, I would say overstudying is a thing. Don't overstudy your materials. Know what you're focused on. Know what is going to be on the test. Ask the professor actually before the test, during the review session, if they would actually list out the topics that are covered on the test or on the quiz. Don't overstudy and study cover to cover of the book. That's not going to be effective. Your brain can't hold that much material. So we're studying the main ideas, the concepts, and we don't memorize unless it's information that is needed. We try to understand, we try to review the notes, we try to just take in the concept and not just memorize it word for word. The next thing I would want to say is to find your quiet zone. A lot of people use music to just focus on what's around them. Try to stay away from foot traffic. I understand that right now we are at home, so I'm going to make this as relatable to you as possible. We do have family, we do have friends going around the home at all times. So I would rather you take a section of your home and turn it into your quiet zone, into your study zone, away from foot traffic, away from friends, away from distraction, away from the TV and your phone and the kitchen and like the chaos. A lot of people have basements. You're able to use that. If you live in an apartment, I would say most apartments have a study session or a meeting room that you're able to borrow for a couple of days a week or a couple of days a month by reserving it. So try to use that. I know libraries are closed, but parks are still open. Parks are a quiet place. You're able to just sit under the sun, maybe in a shade or whatever, and just take your books and study. It's not hard unless you make it seem hard. Just try to find your quiet zone, backyard, front yard, as long as there's no distractions around you, that is important. And I would also like to remind you, I'm telling you to study and study for hours, but you need a break. Your brain needs a break. So make sure you take a 10-minute break for every hour. That's the rule. If you study for 6 days a week, make sure you take a day off for yourself. You need the time to rejuvenate so you can tackle the next week's assignments. Don't overcram, don't overstudy. Okay. Reward yourself if you set a goal to yourself that you're going to study 3 days a week and you actually follow through with the 3 days a week, reward yourself by saying taking a day off that week and going out with friends, going out with family, doing a social activity, watching a movie. That would help you for the next week to accomplish your goals again. And at this time, I would take any questions. If you'd like to mute your mic and ask me any questions, I would be able to answer them. Okay.